What's up, YouTube? We are back today. I'm going to give you 3 exercises that are really going to help grow your glutes. And as I'm showing you guys these, I'm gonna give you tips and cues on how to better engage your glutes through the movement. If you find it helpful, go ahead and subscribe now so you can see other informational videos that I've got coming out. So let's get started. The first movement that we are going to be talking about today are hip thrusts. You've probably seen before a lot of people load up the bar before they even realize how to properly do the movement. And with a movement like this, it's really important that you're trying to get down the form as much as possible to better engage your glutes. When you're setting up for a hip thrust, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you have a bench that is about your shin length. I see far too often, too many people, usually they're hip thrusting off a bench that's way too high for them. The next thing you want to make sure is that the bench is sitting right below your shoulder blades so that you can make sure you're getting the proper range of motion. Okay, and the next thing, you're going to make sure that your feet are shoulder width apart and slightly point them outwards so you can better engage your glutes. And then I see this a lot too, is where people don't bring their feet close enough in and they're way too far out, which is working a lot of your hamstrings. So if you're trying to target your glutes, what you'll want to do is make sure that your shin is in line with your knee and that your lower leg is at a 90-degree angle with your upper leg. Okay, so actually getting into the movement, first thing you want to make sure is that you keep your chin tucked as you're coming up. You want the entire movement to come from your rib cage down, using only your glutes and making sure not to just rock the weight up. Now the next movement that we're gonna get into are deadlifts. I have a previous video that gets down into the nitty-gritty of sumo deadlifts, which I personally use just for maximizing how much weight I can pull. But when we're talking about glute engagement and glute activity, whether you do traditional or sumo, doesn't really matter. Both of them have their pros and cons, so I recommend that you try to incorporate both movements. So for both lifts, what you want to make sure is that you keep your chest up and strong, and allow your hips to sink a little, but not too far. Your hips should sit under your shoulders, but you don't want to be squatting with it. You want to make sure that your hips don't rise too fast. So as you're pulling at the bar, use it as an anchor to try and sink your feet further into the ground. When we're talking about traditional deadlifts, usually glute activity is a little bit higher at the top of the lift as opposed to a sumo deadlift where glute activity is a little bit higher at the start of the lift. Both are really great, and you should incorporate both into your training. The last exercise that we're going to be talking about today are glute bridges. When you're setting up for these, you just want to lie flat on your back. You're going to position your feet so that they are just slightly below your fingertips when you're laying flat on your back and you're lying your arms straight down. Feel free to play around with it. If you feel it working in your hamstrings too much as opposed to, mostly in your glutes, your legs or your feet are probably too far out. If you start to feel it in your quads, your feet are probably too far apart. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive your hips up through your heels. Something that helps me for better glute engagement is coming up on my heels just a little bit. So if I pick up my toes and as I'm coming up, it just helps me better contract my glutes. As with any other muscle, your glutes are not any different. You need to apply resistance to them if you want them to grow. So whether that means adding more weight or adding more reps or adding more sets, that's what's really gonna help you grow your glutes. If you are really looking to put on size on your glutes, I'd recommend at least incorporating 1 or 2 of these into your glute training days. There are plenty of other exercises. For me, these are my top 3 that I've really seen results not only with me, but with some of my other clients. I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next, and make sure to subscribe so that you can see a lot of other videos to help you get started on your fitness journey.